Welcome to Oregon in the 1800s. We will be reading an old newspaper which includes the happenings in the towns and cities around Oregon. What were these Oregonians thinking and feeling? What made them happy? What did they do for entertainment? Well, it's time to read a newspaper together. Today's newspaper is the Oregon State Journal from Eugene City, Oregon, dated July 17, 1869. Ladies' car. Ladies in the East used to complain that gentlemen stared at them when riding in the cars. So, conductors set up a car exclusively for ladies. It was found, however, that ladies, seeing a car in which there were no gentlemen, would not get into it. This raised the question as to whether the ladies really objected to being stared at. Who knows anything about this? A Dutchman's autobiography. I be's a bachelor mit a Frau und more'n a dozen children. 2 other Fraus wat I got, living, be's dead. My age is about 50, 30, 11, 16, somewhere along there, which accounts for my having blue eyes und pig feet. I takes Lagerbier mit mein Coffee. I goes to church 70 Sunday, when I stays to home in a beer garden. I goes out walking every afternoon before breakfast with a horse and buggy. I be's a great politician. At the last 4th of July, I voted 6 times for the Pacific Railroad for president. When I gets married, I wants everybody to come to the funeral. No cards. That's the kind of man I be's. C.W. Fitch, Attorney at Law, Eugene, Oregon. Office, first store north of post office. Greenbacks bought and sold. A considerable amount of smuggled opium has been seized on a bark just arrived from China at Portland. The citizens of Walla Walla are somewhat stirred up by I.T. Reese, Esquire, on the subject of a telegraph line from that place to Umatilla. The entire cost of the line will be about $3,000. Eating peanuts in court at Petersburg, Virginia, has been prohibited by a judicial order, and the index says that the order is justified by the experience of the last criminal term. Information wanted of George Tollicoffer. Any person giving information of the whereabouts of the above-mentioned will confer a favor upon his anxious father, who has not heard of his son for 12 years. Address, Reverend George Redding, Dubuque, Iowa. Salt your chimneys. In building a chimney, put a quantity of salt into the mortar with which the intercourses of brick are to be laid. The effect will be that there will never be any accumulation of soot in that chimney. The salt in the portions of matter which is exposed absorbs moisture from the atmosphere every damp day. The soot, thus becoming damp, falls down into the fireplace. The Sentinel states, on the authority of Mr. J. Williams, that the wild caraway plant, of which there is an abundance in all our mountains, is a certain cure for snakebite. By balloon to Europe. Mr. Chevalier is preparing for his aerial voyage to Europe about the middle of July. He intends to save the gas, which usually escapes when too great an altitude is reached, by storing it in a compensator balloon to be restored to the main balloon when the gas has contracted so as to admit it. By means of a long rope, which will usually trail on the surface of the sea, he is able to accomplish several objects. It will enable him to note the height and direction of the balloon, will serve as ballast, to be thrown out when the balloon is too low or covered with water from the clouds. It can be drawn in again as to weight it down. Mr. Chevalier has an abiding faith in the northwest current, which he feels sure will land him safely in Europe. His ball, L'Espérance, is 95 feet high, 60 feet in diameter, and has a buoyancy capable of supporting 8 tons. He has made a great many ascensions and is one of the world's most accomplished aeronauts. A dispatch says, the most intense excitement prevails in Clark County, Indiana, in consequence of the discovery of gold about 20 miles from Terre Haute by a California miner of 18 years' experience. He has been prospecting the ravines and in every handful of earth found gold in paying quantities. People in that section are wild with the gold mania. There may be no humbuggery about this discovery, but we are inclined to think it a salt. A clean sweep. The following resolutions were lately passed by the young ladies of Tipton, Indiana. If the young ladies of Eugene were to pass a like set of resolutions, it would be apt to make a clean sweep of the boys. Whereas, we mean business, therefore be it resolved that we will not accompany any young man to church or other place of amusement who uses tobacco in any manner, and resolved that we will discard all young men who play billiards, euchre, or poker. And resolved that young men who indulge in profane language need not apply. And resolved that we will not, by hook, look, or crook, notice any young man who indulges in lager beer or whiskey. And finally, resolved that we will not harbor young men who are known to keep late hours. My dear ladies and gentlemen, if you are liking my channel, please subscribe. Much obliged.